During the bear market, everyone thought that Solana was dead. And the reason why was simple. FTX was one of Solana's biggest backers, and when they collapsed, they crippled Solana's ecosystem in one fell swoop. But surprisingly, Solana has been one of the best performing projects of 2023, gaining over 300% year to date. So that begs the question, is it time to buy Sol? Well, as always, we gotta evaluate all the arguments both for and against buying before coming up with our final verdict. Alright? Starting with the case for buying Sol. The first thing is that Solana has addressed one of the biggest criticisms against them, and that's their network downtime issues. During the bull market, Solana would often go down for hours or days at a time, and everyone would criticize them for not being able to stay operational. But the team has been hard at work addressing those issues, and it looks like they were able to fix most of them during the bear market. So far in 2023, Solana has only faced one issue in February, but besides that, they've had 100% uptime for 250 days and counting. So that track record speaks for itself, and I was super impressed to see all the changes they made to strengthen their network. I'm just gonna share some technical terms here, but they added quick TPU, stake weighted QoS, and localized fee markets. If you want to look into those further, you can, but just know that they help Solana stop attackers, reduce spam, and prioritize transactions across their network. So yeah, Solana's network is stronger than ever right now, but they weren't only focused on fixing those issues. Solana's team has also been adding new features and new capabilities to their network, and that's my second reason to be bullish. They've added state compression, which makes it way cheaper to store data on chain. I'm talking about minting 300,000 compressed NFTs for less than $200. Normally that would cost thousands of dollars if you were to mint them as regular NFTs. But besides compressed NFTs, they've also introduced the new Token 2022 standard, which has way more capabilities than the existing SPL token standard. I'm talking about things like privacy protection, enforced royalties, rebasing, and more. So that's amazing, but Solana has also added features for developers such as Solang, Elusive SDK, and Ironforge. These additions will make life way easier for devs, as they'll be able to code using Ethereum's Solidity language, add privacy features to their dApps, and enjoy more abstraction overall. But arguably the biggest thing that was introduced in Solana land is called Fire Dancer. That's a new validator client built by the Jump Crypto team, and it's supposed to be the key to scaling Solana to 1 million transactions per second. It's currently only live on testnet, but it's set to launch mid next year, so that's definitely something I'm keeping my eyes on. Now, my next reason to be bullish is Solana's savvy ecosystem strategy, because they're targeting all the hottest niches in crypto. For example, blockchain gaming is a huge focus for Solana, as they've created a $150 million gaming-focused fund, and they even released their own Solana SDK, which helps developers add blockchain features to their games. Another niche they're focused on is called DePIN, short for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks. Those are crypto projects that use tokens to incentivize the creation of real-world networks, such as wireless networks, electric vehicle charging networks, and more. Two of the most promising projects in this niche, Helium and Hivemapper, are both building on Solana, and I expect more to join them in the near future. Now, in terms of AI, Solana has created a $10 million fund for teams that want to explore the intersection of AI and blockchain. So overall, Solana is investing in all the right places, and that's only going to help their ecosystem rocket during the next bull run. Now, if we turn our focus outside of Solana's own ecosystem, we see another strong reason to buy, and that's all the outside entities choosing Solana for their products and services. Like Visa, one of the largest financial companies in the world, chose Solana for their USDC settlement and payment service. That was a huge win for Solana, but it wasn't entirely surprising given Solana's natural fit for payments. But one announcement that was surprising was MakerDAO deciding to build their own chain and use Solana's tech stack to do so. That was so unexpected for me, and it made a lot of people in the Ethereum community mad, but you can't deny that that was a huge vote of confidence for Solana and its tech. And then you have Solana Pay integrating with Shopify, which will bring its payments tech to an even wider user base. So yeah, Solana is spreading its tentacles far and wide, and that will only help with its growth and adoption. Now, my next reason to buy, and arguably the biggest reason of them all, is Solana's unique fit for retail consumers. If you've ever used Solana before, you'll know that the experience is fast, cheap, and smooth, which is perfect for newbies and retail consumers. And that makes it the most usable chain when it comes to consumer-facing applications. This is why some people like Raoul Pal have a thesis that Solana is the consumer app chain. He thinks that Solana is uniquely positioned to onboard and host the next 100 million users with a consumer-focused dApp on its network. And personally, I agree with his thesis because it's backed by actual data. This chart shows that Solana is seeing an uptick in its consumer apps and protocols, even while other parts of its ecosystem are struggling. So yeah, this thesis is the real deal and is bullish for Sol because narratives drive price action. And this narrative of Sol being the consumer app chain is a strong and convincing one. Anyways, those were a lot of pros. So if you're itching to buy some Sol or open a long on it, then one place you can do so is OKX, who's also the sponsor of this video. I'm a user of OKX and I've used it to trade on my live streams before. But there's really two main reasons for you to consider it. First, it's because they have an amazing track record for security, and their proof of reserves is among the best in the entire industry. Not all proof of reserves are created equal, as you can imagine. But Nick Carter, a well-known analyst on crypto Twitter, took the time to meticulously analyze all the proof of reserves out there, and he categorized them into tiers based on how safe and quality they are. Well, guess where OKX landed for their proof of reserves? In its freaking gold tier, the highest tier possible. But anyways, my second reason to try OKX is that they have a special promo going on right now, where if you sign up using my link, you can earn up to 60,000 USDT based on your deposit and trading volume. So if you do end up buying Sol or want to go long on it, then use my link below to get that sweet USDT bonus. Alright, back to my cons, or the case against buying Sol. And the first point is that Solana DeFi is seriously struggling right now. This is the chart of total value locked for the entire Solana ecosystem, and it is way down from its all-time highs. And you could say, but Kevin, all ecosystems are way down right now, and that'd be true. But check this out, Solana is an embarrassing number 8 on the TVL list, behind Avalanche, Optimism, Arbitrum, and a bunch of other chains with smaller market caps. Also, some people may be like, well, Solana's TVL has been rising all through 2023, so that's a sign that it must be recovering. But that's actually not the right thing to look at, because that's denominated in USD. So most of that increase was due to the price of Sol increasing. And if we denominate it in Sol instead, it's still way down and dropping. So the takeaway here is that Solana DeFi is still dead and hasn't recovered from the death blow that SBF and FTX dealt it. Now, speaking of FTX, my next concern is that most of Solana's biggest supporters are now gone or hobbled. FTX was arguably the biggest supporter of Solana. They invested so much into their ecosystem and arguably pumped Sol to its crazy bull market highs. But now that that source of capital, influence, and support is gone, there's a huge void left in Solana land. Jump Crypto also used to flex their massive war chest to support Solana and bail out its ecosystem projects when needed. But now that their leaders are potentially facing legal trouble, I'm betting that their parent company Jump Capital will rein in their crypto department, as it's not worth jeopardizing the parent company over one of its smaller subsidiaries. As for Multicoin Capital, they were down bad during this bear market, and their own LPs were pissed at them for holding on to their investments for too long. So yeah, all three of these huge Sol supporters may not be able to help them out as much during this next cycle, and that makes me wonder, can Sol even reach its previous highs without them? Anyways, the next thing I'm worried about has to do with FTX once again, but this time it's all the Sol that their bankruptcy estate is planning on selling. So they hold 71 million Sol, which is 17% of the circulating supply, and that is a ton of Sol to dump any way you slice it. Now, they are planning to do it in an orderly manner, like no more than $100 million per week, and they can sell it OTC or over the counter instead of on exchanges. So that will likely prevent a massive crash from happening, but it's still long-term sustained selling pressure. And if they do sell it OTC, then that also removes potential buyers who would have bought it on the open markets. So this means that Sol will rocket less than it potentially could if this FTX estate selling didn't exist. So this is a potential reason for pause. But my next reason to potentially not buy is even more fundamental, and it has to do with Solana's unsustainable economics. Solana barely generates any network revenue. Like, I'm talking 5 figures worth of fees per day, which is pitiful for a network worth billions of dollars. Also, the math just doesn't work out for them. Their fee revenue is less than the cost to maintain their network, which is basically the token inflation that's used to pay their network validators. So until that math changes, Solana relies on people buying their token for speculation in order to sustain their network and keep them from getting into a death spiral. Also, keep in mind that Solana has low fees by design, so they can't just jack up their fees to solve this problem, as that would ruin the value proposition. So the only way to solve it is for Solana to get mass adoption on their network, like millions of transactions per day, so that collectively they can generate enough fees even though the per transaction amount is small. Now, my next concern is also a fundamental one, and it has to do with Solana's complex and experimental design. I think Van Eck puts it best in their Solana deep dive report when they say that Solana's system is experimental at the end of the day. Like, there's no formal verification of their consensus mechanism, and it's hard to predict potential points of failure because of the massive amounts of data flowing through the system. So while they have added several fixes to address those problems, it's still difficult to ensure that no new problems will pop up in the future. And this is a big problem because no one's going to build a mission critical financial app on a network that doesn't give you some sort of performance guarantees, right? And perhaps this explains why Solana DeFi is struggling so much. Phew, that was a ton of arguments to digest. But you know that Van Eck report that I was mentioning earlier? Well, their bullish case for Sol is that it will reach $3,000 by 2030, and that's 75x gains from current prices. Personally, I think that's a little too much hopium, but I think it could easily pull a 5 to 10x from current levels during the bull run. So if you like this type of pros and cons video, then watch my DOT video right here. Otherwise, use my link below to trade Sol on OKX and get their USDT bonus rewards.